Alright, motherfuckers. It's time for the first non-bullshit video of Midori Days with top 10 anime bottoms. You probably clicked on this expecting me to talk about cartoon butts, but I regret to inform you, you have fallen right into my trap. Because this video is not about animated hindquarters. Honestly, they don't even draw them that good most of the time. Sometimes they're alright, usually not. They never seem to just go for it, you know? The Japanese are skinny in real life, and that's their concept of attractive, although they're actually a lot better at drawing breasts. A lot more variety. But none of that matters, because this video is about psychological bottoms. These are the top 10 shows I like, where the fact that I like them makes me want to shoot myself in the head and die. Although it's actually 5, 10 just sounded better. And honestly, I wouldn't get my heart set on 5. Number 5, Sword Art Online. I found SAO at a really rough time in my life. I was on my own for the first time, working a job with low pay, tons of overtime, and truly horrendous conditions. Eventually, I settled into a routine of coming home, measuring out the exact amount of rum and or whiskey I could drink and still eventually fall asleep, and after pouring some Coke over that, I'd sit on the floor next to my couch and binge Netflix until I fell asleep. I started with a certain mammal-based show, which will remain nameless, before plowing through the featured anime. And wouldn't you know it, SAO was at the top of the list. The first episode had me hooked, and while most of the show had nothing to do with it, I liked some of the side characters and managed to enjoy myself. The end of Aincrad was disappointing, and the show got consistently worse after that, but the experience was never painful, and even the shit show of Alfheim had some clever elements that I think people underestimate. Right after this, I got into Anitube, and learned that liking SAO made me Anime Satan, or some shit. And the weird thing is, I don't even disagree. Every single criticism of the show is legitimate, and I have no real defense against them. But I came to it at a time when my inner critic was developed but sleeping, and I still look back on it with a distant affection. And maybe that does permanently bar me from entering anime heaven. But I'm fine with that, for 'tis better to rule in hell. And speaking of hell, number 4, Who's a Maid? Here's the thing about Pedo Maid. It's a horrible idea, but a great show. Despite having plenty of opportunities, there is a refreshing lack of fan service, and if you turned off the subtitles, you'd be forgiven for thinking this was a mainstream family comedy. Obviously, I mean with the original audio. Were you thinking I would watch a show about wacky child predators using a dub? What piece of shit would do that? Also, do be careful not to hit the power button. This is not a good time to see your reflection. The show is genuinely hilarious, especially after I joined the cast as the wacky neighbor. And the character writing can be surprisingly deep. There's a scene where the main character tries to resolve a conflict by tying a dollar to the end of a string, and realizes that she's starting to mimic the maid's behavior, because even if she's mature enough to realize this relationship is really fucked up, she is still a child, and will subconsciously see her as a role model whether she wants to or not. That is a very complex emotion, and when things get serious in the final act, the melodrama feels earned. There's a misunderstanding about the girl's dead mother, and she follows Corona protocols until I pop in to give her a little pep talk, pointing out that she kinda jumped to conclusions too fast and telling her that you should appreciate Pedo Maid more. She does a lot for you. And as the music swelled, I realized with utter horror No. 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 This is working. God damn it. I'm not sure what this show took from me. I just know it's never coming back. And speaking of music, the production is just really strong in general. I never feel more powerful than when I'm listening to the Uzumade ED. And I do not know what to do with that information. Number 3, the OP to Oreimo. The opening to the show really gets stuck in my head. I just like the part where Kuroneko flies in. Song's pretty good too. Not the show. Oreimo sucks shit and I hate it. I watched it because people kept comparing it to Eromanga Sensei, and by people I mean best guy ever. And I just don't get it. I was emotionally prepared for disgusting Emoto fan service, but instead I got 2 teenagers standing around in a room talking about the concept of incest porn. Again, I don't get it. There are some good parts. I like the tall girl who talks like Gakuto from Prison School, although I probably have that backwards. The episode where Kirin and Kuroneko turn each other into OCs who get raped and murdered was pretty funny. And I actually did feel something when the sisters' project was getting steamrolled by a bunch of corporate suits. Although I'm not proud of that last one. I made it to the first episode of the second season, but the continuity stopped making sense, and I learned that the season finale had multiple endings, and I'm not doing homework to watch fucking Oreimo, so that was the end of that. What really got me was the scene where the dad has found the sisters' hentai games and responded by very calmly saying that this was not the end of the world, but he can't let his kids hoard stockpiles of transgressive pornography and was going to throw them out. And the main character responds by prancing around the room, pointing at the dad's picture of the sister and saying, "Ha, look at that, you're the real pedophile here," and then gets punched in the face. I had 2 reactions to this. One, am I supposed to be on the main character's side because I'm not? And 2, what the fuck happened in this author's life where this is his idea of an escapist fantasy? What did he go through that made this something that he would want? I doubt Tsukasa Fushimi is ever getting a biography, but if someone wants to do the research for a film adaptation, I think we found the next Parasite. Number 2, Mitsudomoe. Just kidding, Mitsudomoe is fucking sick. I owe a big thank you to Digi. This is why I watch his videos. Oh, and now it's fucking hailing. God damn it. Are you fucking kidding? Listen, what the fuck? What did I do to deserve this? I'm trying to make a fucking video and it started hailing. God damn it. I have been putting this off all day and I finally sit down and this fucking happens. Oh, whatever. I guess it's time to take a break. My God. Okay, various hail sounds might continue. You can fucking deal with it. Because it's me, Dory Days. This needs to come out on deadline. As opposed to the last 2 videos, which I kind of bullshitted the deadline with them. Oh, fuck. Actual number 2, Budokan, that Budokan show. Yes, this show is delusional wish fulfillment in its purest form, but it's so sincere that I can't help but get on board. Aripio's personality is one note, but a lot of fun, and while her obsession with Mina is objectively a really bad idea, I can't really blame her. Aripio's life fucking sucks. She's broke, gets no respect from her family, and her job is literally to flip over pieces of bread. Something she's done so much that she's started to perceive all acts of motion as derivative forms of bread rotation. Her love life is just as hopeless. Her attraction to Mina gets into the otaku thing of, well, of course this is sexual, but not necessarily. So I'm not sure what her sexuality is outside that context, but even if she was open to it, her prospects are all just as fucked as she is, if not more. We can imagine a better life for Aripio, but in the context of her actual choices, giving a young performer a chance to pursue her dream might actually be the most meaningful thing she can accomplish given the circumstances. Sure, she could apply the resources she spends on Mina towards improving her own life situation, but for what? To become a bitter, cynical bitch like her aunt? And that's the thing, every single character in this show has a shitty life. The normies live in quiet desperation, Aripio's mom has to put up with Aripio, the idols have to deal with the fact that they can only keep this going by exploiting the desperation of isolated losers. The secret best character is Aya. Not only does she have a lot of personality compared to the other girls, but her life is a Shakespearean-level tragedy. In the hopes of becoming a legitimate artist, she took on a demeaning role where she uses her small size to cater to the fetishes of creepy middle-aged men, but she's barely more popular than Mina, and has to work a second job where she caters to a different fetish to keep the primary fetish job sustainable. This is like if a drug dealer started jacking cars because he couldn't afford drugs, or if a hooker ran for Congress. It's also cool that she gets to have an actual relationship with Eri and Kumasa because they can all drop the facade and just be real with each other. In the midst of all this insanity, the stans are almost the least crazy. There is an actual chain of cause and effect here. They give money to the pretty girls, and the pretty girls get to keep dancing, as opposed to whatever the fuck the Aripios are doing. And it might actually lead to something. Cham Jam might not have a great chance of getting to the Budokan, but for the otaku, that chance is zero. And supporting the idols might actually be their best shot at making a visible change to the world around them. This is how life works. This is how politics works, this is how capitalism works, this is how art works, this is how everything works. After they cover their basic needs, most people have a little bit left over, but not enough to really do anything with, so they pick a few people, give it all to them, and say, go be our champions. Because if they concentrate everyone's resources in the one spot, something might actually get accomplished. 1 million people with $1 can't do shit, one person with $1 million has a shot. And if they succeed, there's a chance they'll remember where that money came from. And that applies to votes, filming equipment, fucking whatever. Don't get me wrong, there are much better versions of this than giving your paycheck to a teenager in a neon blue sundress, but there's a right and a wrong way to do this. Look at Kumasa. This is the correct way to be a weirdo. He's fat, people don't respect him, he probably got fired last week, but he's a good man, goddammit. Kumasa didn't want this to be his life. I'm sure he had bigger aspirations for himself, but this is what he's left with and he's making the best of it. And it's not like he's delusional. He fucking knows Ryo isn't ever gonna love him back, and he doesn't expect her to. Things haven't worked out for him and probably won't, so he's taking a little joy in making things happen for someone he thinks deserves it. And he actually is helping. I imagine she's understandably creeped out by this relationship, but Ryo does seem to appreciate him on some level. And honestly, if she doesn't, fuck her a little bit. People are many different degrees of fucked up in this show, but no one is innocent. Maybe Mina. And only because she's a failure. It's obvious that he's going through some shit and has some serious issues, but Kumasa keeps it all under control, stays on his side of the line, and doesn't make it anyone else's problem. And in his own way, he's setting a good example. Just look at Matoi. This man is barely holding back a flood of inhuman desires and dark, rapacious impulses. The world is a safer place for him having Kumasa as a role model. He's guiding the other fans towards a version of degeneracy which is, I won't say positive, but compatible with social existence. Kumasa understands this world is a rough place and no one is guaranteed a good life, but that's no reason to lash out or get resentful. He's a man who has accepted death, and I unironically wish I was more like him. Also, before we move on, two quick complaints. I understand that Yuka's gimmick is being stupid, but her fucking up on purpose and upstaging the other girls seems like it would get really old really quickly and piss everyone off. Just saying. Also, Cham Jam has 2 shades of blue and 2 shades of pink, but red and orange are not taken. What the fuck? I would have added white and black before salmon. They need to watch Power Rangers. They could learn how to fight, too. That'd actually be a much better show. And number 1.
Ramanga Sensei.
My all-time top guilty pleasure show needs no introduction. Being one of the most controversial anime in recent memory. I absolutely adore this show. Which is funny because I've never seen it. Despite having never watched a single episode, I can almost recite the plot by heart, simply by merit of all the commentary videos which responded to it. It was a rare instance of Anitube all sounding off on one topic while also producing fun, interesting, hilarious content. I really enjoyed Digi and BGE as a duo, and their Era Manga podcast is easily my favorite of their collaborations, not counting seminars about various electronic currencies. I also had a lot of fun with Kusamega, and the fact that this show played a major role in Digibro's return to writing fiction cements the Era Manga moral panic as one of the greatest facilitators of great internet content ever. Although Corona's putting up quite the fight. Era Manga Sensei is a beautiful force of pure creation. A primal muse which haunts the dreams of men, but also grants wishes. And I am definitely the first person to say that sentence.